So just when you thought that this whole buy now pay later debt crisis couldn't get worse, people find ways to surprise you, right? You gotta understand, people will find all different type of creative ways to dig themselves a deeper hole when it comes to their finances. And I'm not, and I shouldn't be surprised, because as someone that had $30,000 of credit card debt twice in their life, I understand the thinking, right? You think, all right, I'll make a payment here, then eventually I'll pay it off. Then an emergency pops up, then you say, oh, okay, you're like, all right, I got to do this, I got to use the credit card here, and you got to transfer money. You come up with a whole bunch of creative ways just to put yourself more in debt. So when I see these things happening in real time and in today's economy, I look back and I'm like, wow, yeah, I could understand in the psychology, but it's not going to work. Eventually, it's not going to work out for you. So I came across this article on PYMTS.com, and it talks about how 22% of alcohol users are using buy now, pay later option. Right now, you can tell people are getting broke, because if you're using buy now, pay later to consume alcohol, we all can agree that is not a sound financial decision, right? Eventually, that's going to get you caught up. And the thing is, not only are they doing that, but what they're doing is that they're obviously making smaller purchases, but making more transactions over time. And you got to think about the psychology behind that, right? If you're making a smaller purchase, like, all right, it's not that bad, 10, 20 bucks, I could eventually pay that off. But if you're making more transactions over time, right, then you're eventually paying more overall, right? But in your mind, you're like, it's a small transaction, I could pay that off. But over time, emergencies pop up, and then you're making, and depending on how much the person consumes alcohol, you're making more transactions over time. But because they're just smaller transactions, people aren't feeling it until they get to a point where they look at that balance. It's like, wow, okay, how did it get here? So. And that's according to this report on from Constellation Brands, right? It's a beer and wine company, right? What they're saying is that we're seeing more trips, but somewhat less purchasing per trip than we're used to seeing. So what people are doing is, like I said, they're making smaller transactions, but they're making more transactions over time. And it's funny too, because I remember I did a video a few weeks ago about buy now, pay later, and this guy was talking about how and it was a little funny skit. And he went to McDonald's and he ordered a cheeseburger, right? And then eventually the payment, how much it cost, it was like $350. And then the cashier asked, okay, how do you want to finance this? He's like, yeah, we'll do 4 payments of such and such payment. And he's like, all right, cool, we'll do that. So it was funny, because I was like, you're financing a cheeseburger, but now that you see. I would never thought I saw that. Obviously, it's a joke, but when you're seeing this article and people are financing alcohol, I mean, the fact that someone finances cheeseburgers is it doesn't seem so outlandish. But that's the society that we're living in. People are starting to finance everything, right? And if you look at this chart on PYMTS.com, it shows everything that people are using buy now, pay later on, right? So it says items purchased with deferred payments. Share of consumers use buy now, pay later on credit cards, installment plans of purchase in select categories of retail items that last 3 months. So not only are they using buy now, pay later for alcohol, as you can see, they're using clothing accessories. And if you look at the chart, the orange bar is the buy now, pay later, and the gray bar is credit cards. So they're using it on clothing and accessories, health and beauty, appliances, consumer electronics, sporting goods, home furnishing, obviously the alcohol, books and hobbies, auto parts. They're using it for so many things, right? They have buy now, pay later options everywhere, and I'm starting to see them more now. Everywhere I go, you'll see like Affirm. You can use Affirm. If you shop online, they say, oh, you can use whatever buy now, pay later company, and it's just like, man, you're seeing them everywhere now. And now, not only that, are you starting to see it online, but now you're starting to see them locally. So the question you're gonna ask is like, all right, so how is this gonna end, right? Like eventually, like if you're someone that's ever been in debt, the question is like, how is this gonna end? Like, how do you stop yourself from engaging in these bad financial habits, right? Because as the individual, it's hard to do that, right? You know what you're doing is wrong. You know it doesn't make sense. You know it's not a good thing for you long term, but yet you continue to do it. But yet you can't stop yourself. Like I knew, like when I was racking up credit card debt, I was like, this is getting out of hand. The balance continues to increase. Like, what do I do to stop myself? Eventually, you get stopped because you tap out and you can't. You can't. Your credit balance is closed. But it's getting to a point where now, I think these banks are starting to say, you know what, we're granting fewer credit lines. And according to this article, it says as delinquencies spike, banks are granting fewer credit lines. And that's where it's going to have to get to, where the banks are going to have to stop some of these consumers from harming themselves. Because clearly, as a consumer, it's hard for you to stop. You can't stop yourself, right? So you have someone has to stop you from hurting you. And what they're saying is according to a new report from the Philadelphia Fed, 3.19% of credit card balances were at least 30 days past due by the end of the third quarter of 2023, and that's up from 2.76% in the second quarter of a level since 2012. So people are getting more and more people are going past their 30 days past due. Not only that, but it says even more bad news. Like the Fed research found that 33.18% of accounts paid their balance in full. So majority of people that have using their credit cards, the majority of them are not even paying their credit card balance in full. And like I've always said, like if you're someone that's going to use a credit card, if you want to make sure that you are maintaining good credit and making sure that you're not putting yourself in a bad financial situation, you make sure if you're using that credit card, make sure you can pay that balance in full. That was something that got me in credit card debt, years ago, right? I would not pay it, and then I would pay minimum payment. I keep racking up debt. I'd spend money I didn't have, and that's what's happening for a lot of people. They're racking up these credit card debts. They're not paying the balance in full. Why? Because they don't have the money in the bank. And like I said, if you don't got the money in the bank, then you should not be using that credit card, right? Because if you are someone that's not able to pay off the credit card balance in full, do not use a credit card. As useful as a credit card is, because I use credit card, I don't use debit card. Credit cards are the only thing I use, but I make sure to pay that thing off in full because I'm not going to pay that crazy interest rate that's going on today, right? Interest rates are averaging about 20% on credit cards. So imagine people that it says 33% of people are 33% of accounts paid their balance in full, right? That makes no sense. That the majority of people that are using credit cards are not paying their balance in full. They are racking up interest charges, getting themselves more in debt. So when you see what's going on with this whole buy now pay later thing, it gets to a point where you see what's going on, right? These companies are finding more ways to allow people to engage, to entice people to put themselves more in debt. First, you start with credit cards, then you got this whole buy now pay later thing, and then I recently did a video about this earned wage access, where like for your job you can get access to your funds probably a week before you get paid, right? So if you get paid bi-weekly, you could probably get access to your paycheck like a week earlier. Now you're gonna have to pay a ridiculous fee for it, but a lot of people are doing this. So it's pretty much like payday loans on steroids, and more people are doing that. So like I said, you got the credit cards, you got the buy now pay later option, and now you got this earned wage access that's allowing people to just rack up unnecessary debt. And obviously these are people that have a cash flow problem. Their finances aren't in order. These are people that are strapped for cash, and people are living paycheck to paycheck, putting themselves in more financial stress. So it's just interesting to see that and see how people manage money, because like being someone that's been in that situation myself, like I can understand that mentality, right? You in your mind, you're like, all right, as soon as because I'm working, I can make these payments and eventually I will pay it off, because that's in your mind. You're like, I will pay it off, but eventually you don't. Like emergencies pop up, you buy more things, and then that snowballs, and it gets to the point where okay, you can't manage it, and then you're 30 days late. That 30 days becomes 60 days, and that 60 days become 90 days, and then after that you get charge off, and then that tears your credit up. This is coming from someone experienced. I know exactly how it is, and then they start sending you judgment letters. So it gets to the point where you have to get control of your finances, right? You have to start getting to a point where you're like, all right, this is not working out. I have to figure this thing out, and I have to stop digging myself a deeper hole. But for a lot of people, it is a struggle, and it's sad to see, because especially during times right now where obviously unemployment, people are at a point where they can make these payments, but what if they can't, right? What if unemployment gets to a point where it increases? Obviously, people are getting laid off right now, and it gets to a point where people can't make these payments. Now, you're going to start seeing more delinquencies, and you're going to start seeing people losing, getting sent to collections, people losing their housing, and you don't want to get to that point. But, when it comes to these things, and when it comes to financial habits, it's unfortunate that these things happen. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below, hit the like button and share. And if you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe. All right, so guys, take care and have a good one. Later.